Hello everybody and welcome to this online presentation. My name is Olaf and I'm the IT manager of Plantasjen, and together with me I have
Roy, and I'm a business consultant at Vince.
Today we're going to present the Plantasjen's ERP story. It's going to be a lot about business value and what we're trying to focus on while implementing an ERP system, and not that much on technology. But for you guys to kind of get an introduction to what we're going to talk about, we have a short version for you immediately when we start, and then we're going to dive into the different topics. So I guess, Roy, we can start with the short version.
Yep.
As said, we're going to start with what the goal of the whole journey is. It's profit. And we would like to kind of point out that we are stressing business cases, and what we're actually supporting is not the technology implementation, but it's an implementation of support of the value chain in our business, and also support of the customer journey in as much we can do with an ERP system, but also with other solutions, of course. And then we're going to highlight maybe some of the new roles that we're seeing within IT. IT is not a support function of the business anymore, so we have to kind of step up our game and actually help business to drive business, and especially push digitalization, and then also be clear-cut on our technology blueprint so people understand what we're doing, because most of our technology is now visible both internally but also to customers. We would also like to highlight some of the areas where we think it's smart to go creative to get more value, to deliver on the Omni promises that we have to make to our customers, and it's smart to deliver on them. And also have a bit of some thoughts on the IT support process to see if we can deliver more with the systems that we're implementing.
And then I'll speak a little bit about the applications that we're using, the systems that we've built, and all the kind of tools we're using to try and assist that bottom line results in various ways, and in general just efficiency of the business as well.
And again, we're looking a bit forward to seeing, well, in the short-term future actually, see what we can use now with applications and all the underlying ERP structures and everything, what we can enable in the business, but also kind of trying to dress ourselves with more confidence and say that we can actually do new retail with the solutions that we have. And we would like to take you on that journey to kind of see the challenges that we have to face at Plantasjen. So that's where we're going today. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's dive into profit as part of the goal of the journey. What you're seeing here is an old tool in the marketplace. It's from DuPont. It's a DuPont model from the 70s. Drawing up the whole picture of value creation at the business. And it's important for us from the IT and ERP side to actually understand what we're dealing with, how we're going to create and realize value after an ERP implementation or with an ERP implementation. It's not just about IT costs or administrative costs, but we have to look at all the value drivers in the company to specify different values that we would like to realize. I think we can take next slide already and just look at an example of this. The example is for increased paid services, and we're dividing this into different descriptions to be as precise as possible, to be able to quantify business value and how we can realize that value. And of course, we've done this within Plantasjen. We're not going to show you all of the things that we've dealt with, but it has been quite some work to detail the ERP benefits and how we can drive them. But it will also then be good to the business, because if we need some add-on solutions on top of the ERP, there is a business case to support investing in those things alongside the actual ERP implementation. When talking about the value chain, of course we're talking about the good old value chain from Michael Porter. But it's relevant to the core business of retail. And I think a lot of us has kind of woken up to realize that it's still about value chain and deliver on the value chain to drive benefits within retail. Not just about the customer, but yes, the customer is key too. So again, looking at the different areas, I think we can do the next slide. We have given you some examples of what we're doing. We're actually defining characteristica of functionality per area that we would like to deliver as part of the ERP journey to understand what this will create of value for the business. So that's how we're using the value chain. And then we can move on to the customer journey. And we're actually doing this more or less the same way. However, this one is a bit more tricky. It's a McKinsey model that we have used, but it's still it's not process-based, it's customer activity-based. So you have to dive into the different areas and try to understand what they mean to you and the customer to move on with this. And we have some examples on the next slide to try to illustrate how we're working this model to define functionality that we would like to support with the ERP journey. So those are examples then of how we're trying to drive profit as part of the ERP journey, speaking to the business, and then not that much within the framework of technology all the time, but trying to see where are we going, what's the value that we're creating. And then again, as we said, this new role of IT, what does it entail? And let's see, we have a couple of slides on that too. Going to be brief on this topic, but still it's quite some work underneath it. First of all, how to drive the business. Well, IT needs to understand the business processes. And if they're not there, then the ERP implementation is going to be quite a challenge for all of us, for the business side, and also for IT, because it's hard to do things that are not planned within an ERP system. We all know this drill. It's part of the ERP history that you definitely want to define your processes before moving forward as much as possible. However, there's not that many frameworks for process definitions within an ERP systems. Most of them are just pushing the steps in the ERP system. So you have to look around to find a suitable framework for your business, for retail, for my purposes, and then move forward with these definitions to try to see how IT can support your business. And then this digitalization. And we've all heard so many definitions of digitalization, and this is our take from Plantasjen. We have divided it up into different areas, and what we are saying internally is that we are going to have an opinion about these areas. We have to be opinionated, we have to try to understand what's important for Plantasjen and what's not important for Plantasjen. And it's quite a challenge to work through these topics. Some of them are standard, but of course, following artificial intelligence and IT trends can be challenging for all of us. And again, not jumping to artificial intelligence or the IT trends, but trying to use the standard packages that are there too. Still, business as usual, or business as a form of traditional value change, still valid, as I said before. Most of you guys have seen a lot of different versions of technology blueprints. And I don't really care what type of blueprint one is making, as long as you have blueprints for your area that you can explain and people in the business can understand what you're talking about. And it's not just the applications blueprint anymore, but you have to look into technology too. And especially communications, with the shift within mobile workforces and mobile first strategies coming up, all communications is also changing. And then your business management needs to understand what's underneath the hood of IT and our communications. At Plantasjen, we have 140 stores. They're full of IT equipment. And of course, the rest of the business management needs to understand how we're dealing with that, the investments and so on and so forth, and how we can move that in a new direction, both with an implementation of a cloud ERP solution, but also with other new ways of working, to put it that way. Okay, then a reminder for all of us that when you have specific challenges or areas that are challenging to Plantasjen as a retail business, you kind of have to go creative where it matters. And we have a couple of topics on that too, to kind of just tell you our story on these areas. First of all, you have to drive value with your ERP implementation. And as I stressed earlier, it's not admin cost that I'm talking about, it's real business value. And these are typically the 5 areas that are highlighted as multiplicating areas for business value within retail. You have to work purchase planning, you have to work distribution management, you have to work your price and discount management, your store management, and then your waste management. And of course, Plantasjen is within flowers. Flowers do die from time to time, as we all know. So waste management is extremely important at Plantasjen. And if these are not familiar areas for you as IT persons, then our suggestion is to kind of dive into them, understand why they're important, and understand how they can kind of multiply business benefits within an ERP implementation. Just trying to highlight the Omni challenge that we have at Plantasjen. Of course, most businesses have gone through this phase of having single channels with a POS system in their physical stores, then having multiple channels with e-com and the physical stores, and then moving on to Omni and some more unified commerce. At Plantasjen, we do have a lot of physical stores, so we need to be able to take advantage of that when we're going with more channels to the customer. How we're doing it is basically detailing the customer story. There are different scenarios for that customer story. And then we're trying to see how we can utilize the ERP system, POS systems, apps, and everything else to support this customer journey. What we need to do at Plantasjen, we have started a bit late, so we need to try to jump a couple of the steps, get into real Omni as fast as possible. Then it's this IT support thinking that we have at Plantasjen. We think that with a new ERP system, we can actually have 50% of support tickets go away with the new system. If we're monitoring our activities in the right way, we can not just remove IT tickets, but we can also start helping the business with their activities, trying to help them to move business activities faster along, doing less errors, doing more things right. And a lot of the solutions that Roy is going to present today is all about that. Not just about IT, but again, how we support the business in an easy manner, but easy is okay too. And then yes, Roy, it's your turn.
Yeah, I'll just jump straight ahead. So now we'll go into the application that we're using or that we built for Plantasjen to help them with various areas. And I'll just jump straight into shortly speaking a little bit about our tool that we're using mostly. And as Ms. Butler, we're monitoring the business in real time. I don't want to go into detail in how it works and what we can do with it, but the simple thing to kind of get an idea of is we collect data from a source, we do that various kind of schedulations, and we publish it through dashboards, or we merge it into other systems, or even publish it to other systems. All this is opening for a couple of interesting ways of looking at the business and helping the business at least. So we are taking our applications to the cloud as well to try and build an even more powerful tool to help ERP systems. But not only ERP as well, we speak with other systems to try and merge all the data, and Plantasjen is one of, call it the pilots, that's been looking into some of these details and has got to use some of these in the solution that they are using today. So that's an interesting project that we have going as well. So that is something to look more into for the future. So now I'll look into the first dashboard that Plantasjen is using. This is high-level monitoring that we are using for Plantasjen. This is simply just checking various system things. We call it the heart of the system. because as you can see here from the pinpoints that we have, the one is the grid. We're checking that grid is running. Everyone knows how important that is. We have replication checkings to check that various data warehouses has their current data. We have MEC processings, not just testing if it's running or not. We have communication channels. Without those, you won't have any processes. And we are checking that there's no queue, because that's going to slow down the business and take down productivity.
The cool thing about this is actually that it enables us to sleep tight during the night, because we know we'll get alerts if something happens.
Yeah.
And we have enabled alerts through apps too. So kind of, when your phone is saying that something is wrong. This also saves us a lot of money, of course, because we don't have to have 24/7 monitoring. We're doing the monitoring in an automated fashion.
Yeah.
And it's the safety for Plantasjen. We're not that many on the IT area at Plantasjen, so we need automated tools to be able to deliver a business that runs for approximately 20 hours a day.
So that's another part. Some of these kind of widgets are connected to various alarms that happens through applications, mails, or whatever. And the application one is needful for the most critical situation that your system goes into, so you can respond quickly. I'll jump further to the next one, and this is around your monitoring your business flow. We're doing this through 3 different systems in this one. So we're talking with M3, we're checking the order status there. We're looking into Salesforce to ensure that the e-com is having the same status. We're also looking into the transportation to ensure that the transportation has been booked. All this is to improve the quality and ensure that live sales are followed up. We can also highlight mismatches so we can lower the support that's needed and targeting the issue straight ahead instead of looking for the issue at all times. We can just go straight into the issue when they happen.
And just so you understand the business area that we're talking about, this is a screen for customer service, monitoring e-com activities across our e-com solution, which is the Salesforce Commerce Cloud, across the ERP solutions that we're using to have stocks in the different stores that we're delivering from. And then also, as Roy mentioned, the third system is the booking system to external transportations. Yeah. So again, customer service get easy access to monitor what's happening and dive into the different issues without kind of having to look into 3-4 different systems in one go. So extremely easy to understand. It's not that sexy, but sexy enough for most of us. And I'm extremely focused on execution and figuring out good and bad stuff, and great to work with for all employees actually.
So I'll jump ahead. We're looking into driving the supply chain, and what we mean with that is this is one dashboard that we use a lot, and to monitor overdue distribution orders, which is a simple thing, but you need that to ensure product availability in the stores. We also check that the hubs has their expected goods to manage the fulfillment, and monitoring the stock levels of the day, because if you have something in the end of the day, then it's something that needs or will go to waste, since plants are live products. So in this matter, you can affect things that are straight on the bottom line that will affect the business case in a total.
And just so you understand how this works, I don't think we provided any technical slides on this, but it's not just a number that we have here. You push the widget, you go straight into the details. From the details, you can actually go into, for example, the M3 application to go and fix the issue directly, where you have the master data issue, where you have the transaction issue, and so on and so forth. So it's not just kind of nice stuff with thumbs up and some warning signs, but it's real activities that you can drive directly from your dashboard. And again, that's the easiness of it. You don't have to try to understand all the different screens in M3 and everything else. You can do some of the work based on routines and procedures, and then kind of, well, do it more by just following procedures and not just by trying to understand all the different rights or wrong within M3.
Yeah. So it simplifies the process as well. It's easier to know where to focus your day as well. So now we're jumping over to monitoring channels, which also is an important thing. In this example, we're monitoring prices and discounts, because you have prices and discounts living in M3, and then you have various systems that are dependent on this information. It might be POS, or it might be ERP, or it might be your e-com. You want to show the price the same in all of your chain. So here we are tracking various kind of mismatches between what we expect in the systems. And we also, by doing this, we can reduce the amount of open PLUs that are used, which is a code used for any kind of unknown item. This will help with getting full cash flow insight, as well as avoiding stock being wrong, because you're basically not scanning the product that you're actually selling.
It's surprising, really, that we're still struggling with this within retail, but it's the truth. And well, kind of looking at competitors and other retail businesses, for sure. This is still a challenge within most retail areas. Again, surprisingly, with these new tools, we can react much faster on the different issues that we have. We have lowered the number of sales on open PLUs to basically 0, and we avoid mistakes, and mistakes on prices is a costly thing. And that also goes for discounting, of course. So we've all heard stories about that. I won't tell you any internal stories from Plantasjen. However, avoiding mistakes drives millions in at the bottom line.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of focus on this kind of dashboards as well, to just get the information to all the channels and making sure that all the channels has the same information at all times. Head to the next slide, where we're going to talk about a solution or application that we built strictly for pick and packaging, which is a flow that's important, and you can save money on it as well if you increase the productivity. So what we did here is trying to make a kind of application that is simple, effective, and also has big opportunities to not only speak good with M3, but also with external systems, transport bookings, and whatever's needed. So the thing we kind of focus here is getting the productivity to be improved, so that the stores can use less time for each order that they need to pack, making it simple and effective.
And again, the story is that yes, we're using our stores as a backbone for e-commerce and driving pick and pack there. We're also going to use the stores for click and collect. So we need to cater for both of these things. And again, we do have different personnel working these areas. So they need to have intuitive tools that can be handled in an easy way. During peak season at Plantasjen, we're having students working in our stores. So kind of they need to understand this in an easy manner to get going, working alongside more experienced personnel. Oh yeah, I love this one. Not everything is kind of WINS applications and everything else, but I wanted to highlight one of the other apps that we're having, or informational solutions that we're having that can work across PCs and phones. And this is a reporting solution that we're calling My Store. Again, the travel to the cloud is multi-phased at Plantasjen, because our reporting solution is actually based on Azure. Our M3 solution is based on an Amazon solution. So we kind of have several clouds. or as some of our technology guys are calling it, it's cloudy. Yeah, it might be a fun thing to say, but definitely it's a challenge. We're looking at the screens that we're having there is not just numbers, but we're tracking sales live, meaning if you understand what you're doing all day, you can actually make changes during the day to sell more goods. And you can actually set targets. You can have stand-up meetings in the morning with the whole store and tell them something based on what you see on your cell phone. There is activities in this solution, so you can drive activities throughout the day. And you also have some kind of gamification where we have competitions to, of course, drive more sales, as most retailers do, of course.
So now we're going to go into a peek into the future. So we're working with a lot with Plantasjen as well, and the future, there's no reason to stop. First, I'll go into a whole price and discount engine that we're building, and we're doing this because it's so important to have the correct prices in all kind of systems, and you need to do it the correct way as well. So earlier we talked a little bit about the monitoring of various systems, and that's fine, but we need to make sure that the pricing are actually done right, that you have the correct margins, that you have the correct kind of rules that you want to have for your prices, so you can have your whole kind of chain follow one rule set. And this happens between 10 or more price lists in 3 different countries with 3 different currencies. You have to have full control over your kind of pricing, and this has to happen smoothly. We also have to make sure that there's support for local kind of changes, central changes, and kind of ad hoc changes as well. Because pricing changes quickly, and there might be issues, or there might be something that needs to be done, but you have to make sure as well that it still follows the rule sets. You also have to make sure that they don't kind of eat each other. You want to be able to have a local campaign, but you need to maybe roll the central campaigns over those.
Yeah, this is important for us actually. It's important to be able to manage regions, countries of course, regions, but also local stores, and then also manage the customer club and give our members benefits too. But all these things have to be coordinated and not crash into each other. So it's very important to kind of plan ahead and have solutions that are enabling us to do that. And of course, having these solutions play together with the ERP system.
And the last on this segment as well, we are just 2 words about planning, simulating, and improvements, because even though there's ad hoc kind of price changes, you need to make sure that it actually follows the rules, so you don't have bad margins or any other rules that you need to kind of obey, as well as discounts, because discounting can get quite creative, and you need to make sure there's rules to those, and but not least an improvement, so that everyone is kind of on the same line of this campaign or discount being national wide or local even.
Yeah. Just to give you an example on this, Norway in April, you never know what kind of weather you are getting. You can have freezing cold weather for 14 days, you can have extremely nice weather, extremely warm weather. And of course, that's important to be able to cater for that in solutions, having different alternatives and options, so you can kind of plan ahead and make decisions and then be able to swiftly turn your business around to meet new expectations. And of course, again, drive profit. You have to understand how to drive the profit and do not waste flowers. So it's very important to kind of be able to swiftly turn around using then price and discounts together with campaigns to deliver on the promises to the customers. Again, looking at in-store apps and what we can deliver. we have actually created apps that will support our employees as well as our customers. So what you're seeing here is actually an app or screens from an app that is supporting our employees. And you see that we are supporting them with helping them to understand what's driving the campaigns these days. Yes, you can go to our website too, but again, you can stay in the app. You have store maps, so you can search the different stores that we have for products. As highlighted, you can find them. You will also find them with the correct price, location, and the availability. If you go into the details of each product, you will find a full description of the products. You can actually help the customer as an employee to understand what they're buying. And yes, you can scan all labels at the store to get that information too from the product directly. You don't have to know the name of the product. It's sometimes difficult for all of us to understand all names of all the flowers and plants that we got actually. On the top there, you can actually see how we have a scan and print function too. Yes, we're not running digital price labels at the moment, but yes, we can scan and print labels in a mobile way by just scanning the current label that's on the product. And of course, the employees working across stores can also select their store of the day to work with different location settings for all the products. So it's kind of a cool feature, and what's most important to us is giving the employee an opportunity to have an app that mirrors what the customers will be getting too. So I think we can do the next slide and actually look at the customer side of the same story. Same stuff, some more options. Again, just trying to describe the same story to you guys that they can navigate and find information on the product. And this time we've kind of put plant as the scanning subject at the end of all these screens that you're seeing. The customers will get exactly the same information as we're getting at Plantasjen. We have to share our knowledge as much as possible to help them move around in our stores, but also get a lot of product information. The cool thing is that there's more to the customer app than just these functionalities. If you move to the next slide. Okay, as you see, there's also more to this application or app. Coming home from the store, our customers can still scan the barcodes and getting information on how to treat plants and flowers. They can also use the app to manage their garden, which is very important for all of us to understand what flowers you got there. If you have something that will come up in springtime, to understand where that is in your garden, and also how to manage the different flowers. It's okay to kind of go a bit digital with your hobby. And there's also a plan to use the My Garden as a community where people can share pictures of what they are doing, and you can also follow other people. In addition to that, we have some tests going on sensors together with the plants to measure nutrition, temperature, light, and also water levels for each plant. That's a cool thing. We're actually building master data for about 30,000 different plants and flowers in the Nordics to be able to help out, trying to understand if you're kind of managing your flower in a good way or not. And again, I won't tell you my own tests with this, but there's certainly room for improvements in my garden too. And yes, in an Omni picture, we will also add customer club details to the app, of course. So that's what we're working with, and kind of shortly we'll try to launch in the marketplace. But again, doing it right means there is some we'll have to spend some time doing the launch of these apps. Equally important as talking about apps is new payment solutions for customers. What you're seeing here is the good old-fashioned POS system in the store. However, at Plantasjen, we have also implemented mobile POS systems that will work on phones together with a mobile card terminal Why I'm hesitating when I'm saying the car terminal is basically in the autumn of 2020, we probably don't need a car terminal anymore at all, because it can be included in the app, just paying by card, or you can pay by Bips or Swish in that application as well. And of course, going completely the other way, the customers themselves in the app can pay for the goods themselves. So we haven't put up self-service tills here in this picture, because we actually think we can skip that step and make the customers actually pay themselves walking out of the store. So very interesting and very exciting to be part, to understand where all these payment solutions are moving, going, and how customers are getting used to new ways of paying. And again, also important for Plantasjen to understand how we can be smart about these things and not invest in too much hardware when development within this area is quite fast. Okay, last but not least, this self-esteem thing and self-confidence. Can we actually do new retail based on what we have presented and the underlying ERP system? I think the answer is yes, and we're very much looking forward to what we can expect in the future. We have a couple of slides on that at the end, but again, think about this as kind of, yes, we started with the ERP backbone, but these are the plans that we have together with the ERP backbone to kind of make Plantasjen move into the future. The first topic is mobile first. It has been kind of a slogan for many years. And of course, the largest providers of informational systems have moved to mobile a long time ago, 5-10 years ago. But again, the challenge for Plantasjen is to move our business to mobile first. First of all, it's an extremely good business case for hardware. But then again, it's a good business case because we enable all employees and our customers with the same information in their hand. So the largest computers in our stores, they belong to the customers and the employees. It's not the IT equipment we have there anymore. And yes, 4G and 5G will beat Wi-Fi solutions that we have at our stores. So we need to mirror these trends and we need to deliver. And at the bottom here, you will see kind of the timeline that we have to make this come through. But it's an incredible business case and it's the right thing to do. But it's just twisting your mind when it comes to the changes that we're doing and what we will actually try to accomplish with this. Then it's favorite topic of mine is what digital life with plans means. And we think it's digital hobby in the going forward. We think most hobbies are turning digital in some way or the other. And we think there's the same thing with gardening and working your plants. So it's kind of a part of the times we're living in. And we need to move there. We need to be able to provide people with digital information, making digital plans, and meeting us and in digital communities to work their hobby. And again, as you might see there, you have some Gardena products. You know them, kind of plastic fantastic initially, but of course they've moved into smart devices themselves. Much larger profits, but also much more complex structures. So they've actually opened up their customer support and IT department directly for their customers because they couldn't handle it just by answering questions in the stores. Again, IT needs to be part of the complete business and we need to help with the digitalization to move forward. Some other fun topics on the next slide actually, where you kind of, what is digital? And we kind of ask ourselves, what are plants? What are flowers? And first of all, it's the quite opposite of digitalization. It's kind of the anti-way to digitalization, but okay. But it's also food and grow your own stuff. It's educational. It's part of the short travel business. It's fashion too. Well, not just in your hair, but kind of in your any apartment or in your backyard or in your garden. Some part of a fashion statement, living outdoors. And yes, we have the benefit that plants are generally understood as friendly to the environment. However, we need to take care regarding that so we can actually deliver in a good and optimal way for the business too, that we have a friendly business towards the environment. So it's two sides of the coin there. But again, there's more than enough topics for digitalization. So we need to move into these areas and help our customers with information, not being intrusive, but again, being there to support their hobby and their kind of topic within that hobby. Last one. It might be a joke to most people, but I would like to highlight that we would like to run the weather at Plantasjen. And it's an easy solution to this. Well, not running the weather, of course, but look at our timelines at Plantasjen. Our supply chain for flowers and plants to the stores is approximately 4 days to most of our stores. Okay. The long-range weather forecast is 5 days. Okay. So if we plan well enough, all marketing can be planned ahead with different scenarios and adjusted based on the long-range weather forecast. The same goes for prices and discounts. Products, yes, if we make good decisions in 24 hours at the beginning of every week, we can actually optimize the products at different stores based on the expected weather. Weather information, it's free, it's available, so there's no excuse there. So it's time to kind of start acting and not reacting on weather. And we really like to think we can do this. And again, it's up to us to prove it. And again, we think we have approximately 2 years to do it. By the end of this year, we will include weather forecasts in all our reporting and predictions. And by 2021, we hopefully can deliver systems that are fast enough so we can include long-range weather forecasts in our planning from week to week. So that's the last slide we have actually. It's a bit of a different presentation. Some of you might not have expected it as the ERP story, but this is kind of the topics that we're talking about on top of the ERP systems. Yes, ERP systems have to work, but that has been the story for the last 35 years. These are actually the challenges that we're facing at Plantasjen at the moment. But with good, solid ERP systems, M3 is a solid ERP system, and with add-on products from kind of the family of M3 in the Nordics, we think we can kind of move ahead with good speed and with some confidence for the next couple of years.